We're over the moon. It's a fabulous deal. They're a fabulous partner. It's a great vision that they have and that we have developed jointly. And it's great to have an investor who keeps using the term long-term strategic partnership. So yeah, we're pretty delighted, I think is probably a sensible thing to say.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Valerium CEO Gary Cottle. Gary, very good to speak with you. The $200 million recapitalization deal you announced this morning secures $15.9 million in annual recurring income, and that's for the next 5 years. How does becoming cash flow positive overnight change your immediate priorities for 2026?
Well, it certainly helps. Morning, Stephen, by the way. It was always part of the plan. So when we set out the roadmap 4 or 5 months ago, it was always on the basis that to secure a strategic. Obviously, we've kind of hit the jackpot with QGP and we're over the moon. We hope they're going to be over the moon as a long-term strategic partner of ours. So that degree of capital commitment reflects the current thinking of the plan of what we're going to do together. So that gives us, and we're a very low cash burn company now, anyway. So different from times of old, we don't really develop any technologies ourselves. We partner up with other category winner technology companies, and we make strategic investments into those technologies where we think we can integrate and glue everything together and leverage and all those good things. So yeah, it certainly makes life a little bit less stressful than it has been for the last, I guess, certainly for people like Jamie who funded the company for the last couple of years and other investors. We're over the moon. It's a fabulous deal. They're a fabulous partner. It's a great vision that they have and that we have developed jointly. It's great to have an investor who keeps using the term long-term strategic partnership. So yeah, we're pretty delighted, I think is probably a sensible thing to say.
Gary, the deal includes a no-sale lock-in until you reach a major US exchange. What's the roadmap for a NASDAQ or NYSE listing, and why is that the ultimate goal for Valerium?
Part of the appeal of why they originally approached us was because we qualify under an F1, so we do qualify for a fast-track listing. They have a long-established business of buying and investing in either asset-backed or listed entities. So that's a business that's very familiar with them. It was part of the appeal. It's in our window of they if you look at just strategically, we go and aggregate businesses and acquire assets and build a 50, $100 million business, whatever the number is that gets us to NASDAQ. And that's most people's goal is to, as much as people always start on Aquis and they always start on the growth exchanges. We had looked at the SPAC thing, which is a straight step up listing, but doesn't make any sense. So it's a function of we will be working confidently, cautiously, carefully with QGP over the coming months. If we've got a bunch of deals and transactions and potential investments on the radar, it's difficult to say whether they'll occur next week, next month, next quarter. But it's certainly in the crosshairs of that's what the end state should look like for a business if with our roadmap.
You've secured an agreement in principle for $1 billion growth facility. What specific parts of your AI and tokenization ecosystem are you planning to scale with that kind of firepower?
Well, the good news is that QGP have a very I don't want to use the word centric, but a strong AI foundation. So they leverage AI a lot. We've looked at a number of businesses in our existing. So there are probably 4 different investments, and without going into detail of what they are, the AI crypto fund of funds, leveraging AI for general data for using agentic AI model. So there's 4 or 5 things that are immediate AI bolt-ons where we can leverage AI. There's some fabulous businesses that are doing that already in the tokenization space. So in our core business, and we've been looking at those and speaking to them. So it's at the heart and part and parcel of what we're going to be doing. It's not the be all and end all. It's a combination of we're in the real world asset tokenization tokenization space. QGP are very, they're a multi-billion-dollar entity in asset-backed securities and entities. So bringing all of that together, that's what we're going to be spending the next, starting today, really. So we've already had the guns fired WhatsApp this morning of let's get going. So all of that AI has to be a part of whether we leverage it, whether we invest in companies. Yeah, it's in the middle amongst the rest of what we're going to be doing, and we're very lucky to certainly have secured that $1 billion with them.
Now that you've removed the need for constant fundraising, how's the new Valerium a fundamentally different and de-risked proposition for investors today?
Well, it's you've got to look at businesses that have that are the classic investor thesis is are they cash positive, are they high growth, and where do we think the end state is? So we definitely tick two of those boxes straight away. So we and this is, if you look at the QGP, it's at least $1 billion with 200 immediately. The offer of another $1 billion to put to work. That looks pretty good for a company if you're an investor to not have to fund growth. We will be looking at businesses to fund their growth. So a lot of the investments are for is what we call growth capital, where and anything where we can look at and grow 40-50% plus, 15% plus IRRs. They'll be all the things we're looking at. So we would hope. I think we've got to get out the overhang for an investor. There's probably a couple of legacy shareholders who I imagine will be selling like crazy this morning. And those people that have been with the firm and had warrants and things like that. But I think we've got to look. We're not in this for the next 2 weeks, right? We're in this for the next probably 6-9 months, however long it takes us to get to NASDAQ or NYSE.
Gary, I hope you'll keep us updated on this next chapter of the company's existence. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks very much, Stephen. We will.
Gary Cottle, the CEO of Valerium.